Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here with a video to talk about Mr. Kelly's health concerns. It appears that he has had a very serious health scare and may still have an ongoing health concerns at the MCC in Chicago that Jennifer Bongine is now addressing. It seems that they have been neglecting his care. Remember, he had surgery on, I think, one of his toes a while back, and evidently that has not healed correctly, and it is starting to turn into other health issues, like serious health issues. But before we get into the letter that Jennifer Bongine wrote to the MCC, I wanted to follow up on my video about the Heather Williams lawsuit. So I did a little more research. And what I found is that the ruling that came down the other day was actually, so you guys know the whole history where Heather Williams and the Midwest Commercial Properties people both won default judgments for $4 million each. And then they were in a race to Sony to see who would get first dibs on Mr. Kelly's royalties. And so Midwest Commercial Properties emailed their information to Sony. They actually emailed someone that they knew that worked at Sony and said, hey, I won this judgment. We're going to bring you the paperwork. But basically they were trying to get the insider, jump in the game by having this person that they know put them first in line for getting the royalties. And then Heather Williams, I think they hand delivered theirs. And so there was an argument about whether or not Midwest Properties legally notified Sony. And so it was ruled that they had not legally notified them because the email didn't suffice as proper notification of their judgment. And so Heather Williams would be placed at the front of the line on his royalties. And so Heather Williams appealed that. And the appellate court ruled in her favor and said that, because she did it the legal way, did her notification the legal way, in person, that she would have first dibs at his royalties. And so that was the appellate ruling that took place last year. So then Midwest Properties came back and appealed the appellate court ruling, and so it was heard by the Illinois Supreme Court, and they are actually the ones that came down with the ruling on last week. And basically the ruling just upheld what the appellate court said. So still no one has collected on his royalties, and there is no telling when anybody will collect or if they will collect at all, because Sony is holding tight. And so Jennifer Bongine, here's a follow-up article from Billboard. And let me go back to this, because they actually talked about talking to Jennifer Bongine, and she gave a little more clarity. Okay, so it says, following Thursday's ruling, Kelly's attorney Jennifer Bongine tells Billboard that she is currently seeking to overturn the underlying $4 million judgment. She says the award to Williams, a so-called default judgment, meaning it was issued after Kelly failed to respond, never should have been entered. I've never in my career seen such a flouting of the rules to deny him even the opportunity to defend these civil cases, even when the courts were fully aware that he was incarcerated, unrepresented at points, and facing multiple criminal indictments, Bongine says. Indeed, much of these civil proceedings occurred without his knowledge. But the $4 million judgment was already upheld once by an appeals court, and Bunjin says that she faces an uphill battle to overturn the judgment because of the actions of Kelly's prior lawyers. An attorney for Williams declined to comment on the litigation, as well as an attorney for Midwest Commercial Funding. Though Thursday's decision gave priority to Williams over Midwest Commercial Funding, it's unclear whether she'll enjoy similar priority over a slew of additional monetary penalties that he owes to individuals as a result of his criminal convictions. And then it goes on to talk about the money, the Illinois case gave the $42,000 in restitution to one of those individuals, and then $480,000 in restitution in the Eastern District of New York case. They tried to talk to the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, but they declined to comment on the impact of Thursday's ruling or the status of federal restitution efforts against Mr. Kelly. And they also talk about, the fact that Sony has been very quiet, and they are not saying exactly, what they are going to do in terms of his royalties, the accounting of the royalties, and they make no mention of the money that he supposedly owes to the IRS. And according to Judge Lennon Weber out of the Eastern District of New York, he could possibly owe like $10 million to the IRS, and that amount is continuing to mount, with daily compounded interest that they put on bank payments that are owed to them. So I just wanted to clarify that real quickly. And now let's get into this letter that Jennifer Bunjin wrote to the MCC in Chicago, where Mr. Kelly is being held. And this letter was sent to the, what do they call those people? The wardens of actually she sent it to the person, Robert Steele Jr., U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Prisons. And so she writes, Mr. Steele, I am writing to continue our conversation from the past week and demand that my client's medical needs be addressed immediately. As you know, on March 20th, 2023, I sent you an email expressing my grave concerns about Mr. Kelly's continued pain and worsening symptoms related to his prior surgery. Mr. Kelly failed to receive competent post-operative care at the MCC. Indeed, after Mr. Kelly's surgery, he was fitted with a cast to protect the incision site. That cast was supposed to be removed after 2 weeks, but the MCC failed to follow this directive from his treating physician. Mr. Kelly repeatedly asked medical staff at the MCC to remove the cast and check the site of his surgery. His requests were continually ignored. Eventually, Mr. Kelly was forced to physically remove his own cast, which, as I previously stated, was absolutely unacceptable. Now, she doesn't mention when this surgery actually took place. It looks like she made her first communication to him on March 20th. And we know that back in 2019 or 2020, he had surgery on his foot. I don't know if this is the same surgery or if this is another surgery that has taken place and they are failing to treat him. And you guys know that he was diagnosed with diabetes. So this is really nothing to be playing with at this point. But it just seems like they are determined to take this man out one way or the other. And so it goes on to say, in the past couple of months, Mr. Kelly has complained repeatedly of pain and asked the MCC medical staff examine the source of his leg pain. Mr. Kelly even apprised MCC medical staff that he was concerned about having blood clots in light of his family history. Again, he was ignored. On March 20th, 2023, I was forced to raise these concerns with you directly. My understanding is that same week, and then she has in parentheses last week, he was brought for outside treatment, where it was confirmed that he has blood clots in the leg where his surgery was performed, likely related to the negligent post-operative care he received at the MCC. Okay, well, this sounds like a different surgery. And you guys remember in the Chicago case, there were several people who were at that trial who stated that he was walking slowly or walking with a limp. And I think at one point he came in, I can't remember if it was the Chicago trial or another hearing where they said that he came in a wheelchair or something. So this is definitely something that is really serious. But it goes on to say that blood clots are life-threatening complications that should have been monitored from the start. And then it says that Mr. Kelly spent nearly a week in the hospital, during which he was denied access to me, his lawyer, and his fiance, who was desperately worried about his well-being. I appreciate that you informed me that he was obtaining treatment at a hospital, but it is entirely unacceptable that he was denied the opportunity to communicate directly with me. I emailed you yesterday to inform you that I remain concerned about his condition, and you assured me that the MCC was handling his medical needs. I am not convinced. I spoke with him today, and he sounds unwell and continues to complain of terrible pain. Miss Savage, and you're referring to Jocelyn, has also informed me that she met with him today, that he looked terrible, and that she was gravely concerned about his health. The MCC/BOP has a constitutional obligation to provide competent medical care to all inmates. The MCC has failed to do so with respect to Mr. Kelly. Had Mr. Kelly received competent post-operative care, these complications would not have occurred. We fully intend to address these harms through the appropriate administrative and court processes, but I have immediate concerns about Mr. Kelly's health and safety. He should be promptly returned to the hospital for continued care and monitoring by competent medical personnel. Sincerely, Jennifer Bonjean. Now, child, these people are totally out of line. And I'm just like really surprised and not surprised, I guess I could say, because I've known people who have been in prison and they basically use them as test subjects. Okay. My kid's uncle, he actually died in Florida State Prison, but he was in prison for like 25 years. And when I tell you, them people, for 25 years, they were operating on him, giving him all these experimental treatments and all kind of stuff. Well, not the full 25 years. I think he got sick probably around the 15th year he was there, but he had several surgeries. They moved him from facility to facility, working on him. And I'm sure it was all experimental. They didn't really care about his health. And then even people that I know that are in federal prison or have served time in federal prison, they normally, get sent to the hospital. We know COVID, they was testing COVID out on these inmates before COVID ever hit the scene or hit the streets, but just very surprised that they would be treating a high profile inmate the way that they are treating Mr. Kelly. And I mean, anybody with common sense knows that a person that has diabetes, possibly high blood pressure, and blood clots, that is not a good mix, and that this is something that they definitely should be treating. And then to leave a cast on him, indefinitely and not be concerned with the wound care, particularly with a person with diabetes, that is just crazy to me. But we are going to stay abreast of this situation. And of course, Jennifer Bonjean is going to make sure that this is public and that people know what is going on. And, so that the public know that they are mistreating this man and that he is not receiving the proper care. And when you talk about writing letters, this is really something that, supporters should be writing letters about, to let them know that, hey, we know what's going on. We know that this man is not receiving the health care that he needs, getting the word out and letting people know that, inmates deserve better than this, because this is just crazy. And then I wanted to see if this had hit the news. I think it did. Let me pull up this article that I found on this also. Okay, ABC Chicago News did a quick write-up, and they basically said that Kelly's lawyer is going public with complaints about the health care the convicted singer is getting inside Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center. Bunjing said Kelly recently had surgery on his Achilles tendon. Okay, so it wasn't the surgery he had on the toe a couple of years ago. This was a new surgery on his Achilles tendon after it was discovered last week he was suffering from blood clots. Okay, so Bunjing said that's due to negligent care provided by the Bureau of Prisons. It's not just because it's R. Kelly. Every prison deserves medical attention, medical care. I think she meant to say prisoner. The MCC is required to address these things in a competent fashion. ABC7 reached out to the Bureau of Prisons for comment, but has not heard back. Kelly is currently serving more than 20-year prison sentence for convictions in Chicago and New York. And I think they are the only ones that's actually covering this, which is crazy. That this story wouldn't be getting, they're more concerned with talking about these royalties that these fake victims are trying to collect on than they are about his health. But looks like they are the only ones that picked up the story. But like I said, we'll keep you guys posted if Jennifer Bunjing shares any more information on this. Just praying for him, regardless of what you feel about the situation, feel about the case. He doesn't deserve to be treated this way. And the BOP needs to get on their job and do what they're supposed to be doing. So guys, that's it for me. Going to go ahead and leave this here. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.